Life is not always bed of roses. Sometimes in life, we need to go through furnaces. We need to go through challenges and troubles. But the Bible promises that when we go through a furnace, God walks with us. He walks with you in the furnace. God will never abandon you. God will never leave you. God molds us in the furnace. Peter says, "Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice in as much as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when His glory is revealed." Peter is not saying our life will be free of problems after we know Christ. He's saying the opposite. He's saying, don't be surprised when you go through fiery ordeal that has come on to test you. See, these ordeals are to test us, to shape us, and to mold us. So today, no matter what you're going through, remember that the things that you're going through, God is using you to mold you. God makes us more like Christ through the challenges, through the trials and temptations. Remember, Jesus was the fourth man in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. God didn't take them out of the furnace, but God walked with them in the furnace. God's promise to us is that when we go through the furnace, as bad and painful it can be for us, it will not destroy us. And that's the whole point of Isaiah 43. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. See, God is saying, when you walk through the fire, God is not promising you a life free of fire. God is saying, you will walk through the fire, but you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. And how could God do this? How can God walk with us in the furnace? Because He's the one who knows about this furnace that you and I go through. Why? Because He had been there and done that. The furnace He went through for us was far worse than you and I will be going through in this world. Jesus Christ went into the worst furnace for you, so He can be in this furnace with you. Jesus Christ went into the furnace of God's wrath. He took the worst suffering that you and I cannot bear on the cross. He took the Father's wrath. He became a propitiation, the sacrifice that assuages God's wrath. He became our substitute. That means you and I were spared from going through that worst furnace, worst suffering. We cannot imagine what that furnace of God's wrath will be like. It will be like 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000 times or even more powerful than the sufferings we go through in this world. That is why Paul wrote, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us a glory that far outweighs them all." Paul is saying that everything we go through in this world is light and momentary. God uses these light and momentary sufferings to shape us, to mold us, and to become more like His Son, Jesus Christ. Edward Shillito, a free church minister in England during World War I, investigated various religions and what they say about sufferings. See, none of the religions in this world come close to the teachings in the Bible about sufferings. Many religions see them as a curse, or downplay it, or ignore it. And finally, after his investigation, Edward Shillito wrote a poem called Jesus of the Scars. It's a long poem, but at the end of the poem, it finished like this: "The other gods were strong, but thou wast weak. They rode, but thou didst stumble to a throne. But to our wounds, only God's wounds can speak. And not a God has wounds, but thou alone." See, Edward Shillito was astonished by what Christ did on that cross. We have a God who has wounds that can speak to your wounds and my wounds. None of the gods of this world has wounds. None of them suffered and died like Jesus did. Isaiah writes in chapter 53, He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind. A man of suffering and familiar with pain. A man of suffering and familiar with pain. See, it's the same Isaiah who wrote in chapter 9, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given." And he went on to say, he'll be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. We are used to say Wonderful Counselor, but the actual Hebrew translation for Wonderful Counselor implies He's wonderful, Counselor. And the word wonderful in Hebrew means He's a wonder, He's an ultimate beauty. Isaiah must have seen the pre-incarnate Christ in heaven, the Son of God, and gasped and awestruck, and would have written, He is a wonder. He is wonderful. He is an ultimate beauty. Jonathan Edwards wrote a book called The Excellency of Jesus Christ. He was talking in that book about how Jesus Christ is both the lion and the lamb. And he wrote, Jesus Christ is both God and man, and he combines diverse and usually opposite excellencies and glories in one person, and therefore makes him of surpassing beauty. He's both. He's God and man. He combines the highness and the lowness together, and all the attributes that go with that make him not an abstraction. And he went on to write, despite his high claims, he is never pompous, and you never see him standing on his own dignity. His tenderness without weakness, strength without harshness, humility without the slightest lack of confidence, unhesitating authority with a complete lack of self-absorption, unbending convictions without the slightest lack of approachability, power without insensitivity, enthusiasm without fanaticism, holiness without Phariseeism, passion without prejudice. See, that is Jesus Christ. He's always surprising in taking your breath away, because he's incomparably better than you could have ever imagined for yourself. He attracts you, he captivates you. But yet, Isaiah writes in chapter 53 about the cross, he had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. John Piper said, if you were at the scene of the cross, you would probably vomit by looking at the gory scene and the face of Christ. See, that's the furnace that he went through. Why did Christ go through this furnace? What made him go through this? Why did he lose this beauty? It's a love for you and me. Christ went through this so he can walk with you in the furnace we go through in this world. And this is why he can now walk with us in the furnace. We have a God who has wounds and scars that can speak to us when we are in the furnace. Paul wrote to the Corinthians, but whenever anyone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. And we all who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory are being transformed into his image with ever increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. See, suffering and glory are intertwined together in this world. You cannot have glory without the sufferings. And Paul is saying we are being transformed into his image with ever increasing glory. And that is the whole point of what we go through in this world. Christ went through the furnace of God's wrath so he can walk with us in the sufferings. And you and I can be transformed to his image, and we can regain the beauty and the glory with which God originally created us. Adam and Eve lost that beauty in the Garden of Eden. And Christ lost his beauty so you and I can be more like Christ, and we can regain that beauty and glory with which God originally created us. So today, if you're asking God, why am I going through this? Just open your eyes and look at that fourth man in the fire who walks with you. Look at his wounds that can speak to yours, and thank him for his wounds so you don't have to go through what he went through. And one day, you will come out of this furnace you're going through, and you will be more like Christ. I hope that's an encouragement for you. Thanks for watching, and God bless.